So once again, thank you, Solomon, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm very happy to join everyone today for us to learn. Some of us are going to update what we already know. So wherever you are joining from, thank you for joining and good evening, good afternoon to you, depending on where you are joining. So before I also proceed, I would like to also say that if along the line you have any question, you can put it in the chat, or at the end of the session, you'll be able to ask your question. So I'll like to share my screen. I want to confirm if I'm on presentation mode, or you can see from my screen.
Yeah, we can clearly see.
Okay, so
Yeah.
once again, I'm very happy to share with you the very start of your research journey. As I said, some of us it will be first time, some of us it will be repetition of what we already know. Some of us it will be added knowledge. So we are going to look at introduction to research and methodology. Let me pick my pointer. And I'm Ebenezer Senu. So for the past years, I'm a research and data scientist at the School of Medicine and Dentistry, University here in Ghana. And I'm happy to also introduce to you the lead coordinator for this webinar, which is ERDSI, which I'm also the director. What is it about? So first, I would like to tell you what we do. So basically, the full meaning is the Elite Research and Data Science Institute, as Solomon rightly said. And we are new in the system, so we just began a lot of activities this year. And most often, we have the PTS formula where we are hoping to run projects, either funded or not funded. That is in a long-term goal. We are going to have a physical institute. So now, if you want to locate us, you can only locate us virtually, either through our email or what we also do is training. So that's why today we are very happy to have you join our training. So we organize both in-person and online training, and most of them are free. That's why today you've been able to join us freely to learn together. And apart from that, we also render various services. So even if at the end of today's presentation, you are interested for our team to help you with your research or any other things, we have financial team, research team, graphic design team. So the beautiful graphics you see here is from our team. So if you want to enhance your services, we are also available to give you any kind of service here. So it means that we are all around. Alongside, we are helping to solve a lot of pressing global issues. So most of you see our logo coming with the abbreviations, which is inspiration of sharpen our lives. So we are a young team that we hope to sharpen everyone's lives. And these are some of our souvenirs. We just imagine everything, then we can create it together. So again, we are happy for you to join us. And if you're still not following us on our social media pages, that's the only way to get in touch with us. Or if you want to be a member, mostly to become a member, after joining some of our webinars, we share with you a membership form that you can fill and officially become a member. So this, even after wherever you are joining from, this is just a brief of what we are going to look at. We want to either start our journey or recap what research is. So from clinical research to references, that's what we are going to look at. And I want to also tell you that Unlike the stomach, the brain does not alert you when it's empty. So you don't know whether you know or you don't know whether you don't know until you encounter the problems. That will tell you. So we have to always be ready to update what our mind, even if you know already, it should always be continuous to also what learn. And again, let me also tell you that this presentation may not make you an expert to be a continuation of what you already know or add up or beginning. So we are here to learn together. So we have to all move in the same line, and at the end we are fine. So you can see that we are also presenting from our nice PowerPoint templates. So for first time research, someone we've heard about research. What is it? We have re and search. So it's just two words, and basically we know that search is just we are finding, and re means you are gain. So it's either you are going to what? Go back again to reconfirm what someone has done somewhere, or some theory that has been proposed. You are going back to what? We do that. Or you are what? Recreating some what? Theory in a practical perspective. But in research, scientific research, we go by a process. It means that although you are going back to search, it will be a step-by-step or phases. You cannot just jump and get a result. You need to follow what? A process. So in that case, we define research as just a systematic investigation, including research development, testing, and evaluation designed to develop or contribute to what? Generalize of knowledge. Either the knowledge is already there, the gap is already there, you want to contribute to it, or you want to develop a new knowledge to the scientific world. So this word was coined from researchee, which means to go about seeking. So every day we are motivated to go about seeking for solutions to solve human problems. So if that is your motivation, then you are in the right path. You have to join the research team. So what are some of the objectives of research? Why am I even introducing research to you? One, some you may want to get what? New insight into a phenomenon or something. You may also want to look at characteristics of some individual, or you've seen some study population, ethnic group, you want to see how they behave, some groups. Why are these groups behaving this way? You want to describe those population, or there's development of an assay. You want to test how best this assay work, their accuracies. Or you want to test hypothesis. So most of the research thing we do, we are just testing what hypothesis. So day in, day out, we are testing hypothesis. What are some of the qualities of a research? Most often, this is not limited to being a systematic. So we hope that in a well-performed research, there should be a methodology. It should be planned from one point to the other. Then it should be logical. Is there a formal argument related to what you are doing? Then we can call it a research. Also, is it empirical? Can it be verified using observational or experimental studies? Did you just put a study group, took their data, or you did a lab experiment? Or can it be written somewhere? Can it be reproduced by someone? So day in, day out in our setting in Africa, we look at what has been done in other countries. If it's not also done in your country, then we try to replicate it. So if you've done a research somewhere, then the question you ask yourself, what you are doing, you can somehow also replicate it in a different settings. Then you call it a good research. Or is it creative? Does it present a novelty? What does it have? So these are not limited. We have other qualities of a good research. So what is the motivation? Most often, why should even someone do research? What is our motivation? For the past 2 years, I've been doing research. What is the motivation of it? Why should I waste my time every day doing research? The first one is what we already know, is to get a degree. So you know that there's no way you even finish an undergraduate degree without what? Doing project work. And that is a research. So that is the first thing. So some people just want to graduate But in that case, you have to do research to get a degree. That is the motivation. Either you like it or not, it's a motivation for that. You want to face what challenges in solving or unsolved problems. So some people are also what? They have the desire. We want to solve problems. You realize this problem is unsolved. And if you want to solve them, it's what? Through research. There's malaria, there's COVID, you want to produce drug, it's a problem. You have the desire. And how do you solve that? It's through research. And also, some also have joy. So when you do publication, you see a lot of scientists sharing out this joy, the joy of being a research team. That is the motivation for some people. Also, service to society. People want to contribute to the society, and what way can also do that is through research. You can research about it, the problem, then you present it. Then you can contribute to the society and also to get respected. Yes, for you to become a professor, you need to do research. For you to get promotion in university, you need to get research. And everyone respect professors. That is the relevance of research. So that is the motivation. So it motivates all our lecturers to go into research to become a professor. Or before you even become a lecturer, you have done a lot of research before you got in there. So that is the motivation. For promotions, as I said, most often, whether in your workplace or other time I was with someone, he said, even my current workplace is demanding that I publish. If not, I may not get promoted. So for promotions, whether you like it or not, it's the motivation for you to publish and you have to do research. Also for employment, a lot of educational institution or research institution, until you are ready to be a researcher, you cannot get employed. There are a lot of different kinds of research. Some of them, because this introduction session, I'm not going to detail with them. But if you're able to join our subsequent webinars, you get to learn a lot of things. So most common one that we do is the quantitative and qualitative. Most of them are intertwined. You use them one way or the other. Descriptive, whether you are describing a population analytical, whether you are doing an experiment or taking observational data. So a lot of other types of research that we have. We'll go into details in our subsequent webinars. Then we ask, what is the problems? If you want to start a research, or those that have started, what are the main problems that we have? The first one is time and money. So in our setting, for example, we always say a resource limited setting, and that is the main thing. The time, most people don't have time. So even this webinar, some people has registered, but they don't have the time to join, to learn, to start their research journey. Someone wants to do a research in particular, but the person is not having time. Apart from that, the person is not having money because you need to buy reagent, you need to travel to go and take data. So these are some of the problems that we have. The next one is lack of training on methodological research. So it's very good that you have joined today's training to look at some of these things. But a lot of people out there are having the motivation to do research, but they don't even know where to start from. The lack of training. Lack of training. So if you happen to have those training, that's where you can get your research moving. And the next one is lack of communication or interaction between the university research and business or industries. So sometimes day in, day out, we are doing publications in the university environment, but ask yourself, is those that need the research, are they using it? Those that need the results in the business established, the industries, we find, oh, this particular analyte is able to do this. Those in the industries, are they able to use it to improve their industries? Or most often, if you are in the field, that is where you even have the problem, or you know the problems. Those in the industry, I tell you, day in, day out, they are having some kind of problem. They want to research into it to find a solution, but they are not communicating those problems to those in the research institution for them to also investigate into. So there's lack of communication, and which is really a major challenge. Another one is confidence. So For example, I remember one of my guy, he wanted to do some research in electricity company. So he has to get data from electricity company. And they are afraid. They thought, okay, when as ECG boss, when they give this person the data, he's going to look at the data and expose what the industry is doing. You're able to tell the audience that, oh, ECG, this is what they are doing, this is the information. So there's that lack of confidence on the part of the industry. So it's very difficult for a lot of industries to give you information, which is also an issue, and lack of code of conduct. So actually, you are going to pick data from an organization and institute and industry. You have to be able to look at how you are going to present it so that it's going to what have no impact or no harmful impact on the industry. And also poor library management and function. So now even this is not a problem because now we have the internet a lot. So previously, before you even do research, you have to go to the library, take books, read. Then there's not even like IT for you to. But now we have a lot of resources at our disposal. But I tell you, there's kind of research. For example, once last year I was doing a systematic review and meta-analysis. There are some database I need to use the university process. You don't have personally, you don't have access to this. In that case, if there's an institution that does not have a well-functioning library, you cannot do those kind of research, which is also a challenge, and difficulty of timely availability of published data. Someone want to do research, but the person will say that, oh, this one, there's no data, I'm not finding article. But today I'll tell you this is also not a problem. If there's no published data on the work, does not mean that you should not proceed with your work. You could be the first person to publish on that topic. Then in that case, you are going to adopt already existing theories, not necessarily published paper, to also build up. So someone will ask, we've talked about research. So how does it differ? How does clinical research differ from what standard care? So sometimes, anytime we encounter those in the hospitals, our health practitioners, sometimes they think like how they see data in the hospital sector or in the industry, the same thing in research. Then you have to explain to them that in research, what we do and what differs. What are they? Yeah, we realize that in clinical research, it can involve human volunteers or animals. And even these human volunteers, they can be patients or those with a disease conditions or those without what disease or condition or healthy individual. But if you go to the hospital, you know that it's only patient that they deal with. This differ. So is that this is not a standard care. In research, we are doing research. And also, the ultimate aim is improving already standard care, either testing and intervention product, collecting data about already experience or disease management. Maybe the doctors in the hospital, they'll be treating a particular disease. A typical example is the antibiotic resistance. They found out that, oh, this is not working. So it's through research, we are going to further look at these antibiotics in order to improve the patient outcome. Again, it's measured over a period of time using robust and reliable methods to identify either lack of knowledge gap on issues, a lot of issues, either drugs, treatment, therapies, any other things. So it's over time. But in the hospital or in a clinical care, standard care, the main aim is what? As soon as the person is confirmed that the person is cured or relieved, they discharge the person. But in research, until the study period is over or until the follow-up is over, we are not leaving you. We have a time. It's not that the standard care that the next day the person is okay, we discharge the person, which makes this thing research differ from the standard care. So when you're a clinician or a healthcare professional, you should be able to know that it's a big difference in clinical research. Again, research can have a control groups, that is those that do not have the disease, but in standard care, it's only the patient they are working with. And our main focus is unknowns. such as effect of interventions. There's development of new drug. We need to test it. So that is our interest. We want to find out the unknown. That is our interest. But in the standard care in the hospital, already they know this will do this, this drug will do this. So they'll follow by that standard care. But here we are testing for new thing. No, we are finding the new thing. What will happen in this food? That is what is our interest. And we stick to protocol without deviation. Typical example is control trial, the highest level of research. You have to stick with a protocol to see the end result. But as I said, the standard care is all about clinical judgment, decision, and flexibility. If the first few days they've given drugs to the patient, it's not working, they try to what? Switch to what? Different what? Drugs, which is not the same in clinical research. So what are some of the improvements? Because I've talked about clinical research. We have to realize that even a perfect example is during the 20th century, there has been a lot of global improvement through research. A typical example is during the 1920s, where we find out that improving children nutrition was able to combat rickets, which was done through clinical research. Before it will be implemented in the standard care. Again, in the 1950s, through epidemiologic studies showed that cigarette smoking will causes lung cancer. It's through clinical research. Again, in the 1980s, where we found that folic acid was able to reduce babies born with spinal bifida. It's all through research. And recently, in the field of HIV, where they discovered that the combination of antiretroviral therapy was able to have progress or delay in the viral load rebound. So all these things is research. So it means that a lot of things that we see around is through research, which makes research very, very important in our daily lives. What are the main research approaches? So most often in our setting, the main approach is the quantitative approach or the qualitative approach. It can also be both. So mostly when we talk about quantitative, we are talking about data. We are talking about data, numerical data. By qualitative, those people use words, pictures, interviews, objects to kind of describe the situations. But in quantitative, we are talking about data, dealing with data. Or it can be both. So some studies can have both of this. Again, in quantitative, you have to know that it's from theory. Already you have the theory hypothesis that you stated. Then you go and do the lab or do your lab investigation. Then you establish the facts, whether yes, the data is supporting the theory. It relates occurrence of variables with other variables, and it can establish generalization for prediction. At the end, the finding that you've seen, you can generalize it to the study population. But in the case of qualitative, it's from fact to theory. Someone can look at some facts and generate theories. Then we can explore why it occurs. We mostly interested in pattern reasons. That's basically about those that are in qualitative studies. But quantitative, we are establishing facts using data. So what is the research process? Most often, it starts from defining your research programs. Then you have to review the literature to see if there is supporting evidence or not. From there, you'll be able to form your hypothesis. You're able to design your research. What is the study design that you are using? Then you can now do your lab experiment, collect your data. Then at the end, we analyze data and interpret the results. So we at ERDSI, we do all these things. If you are interested in data science, that's our field, we're able to do a very nice data analysis for you. That's what I've been doing for the past. It's really interesting. So do you want to cry like a cat that does not even know what this process is about? You are missing, or what else? Sometimes people are crying about their project work, they want a research to do. I'll tell you that you don't have to be worried. Mostly what you start with, you have to start with formulating a research program. And how do you do that? For example, you ask yourself, why are people having higher than normal body temperature? all of a sudden you've seen people around you having higher than normal body temperature, or why are people growing very lean than normal? All of a sudden, someone has started growing very lean than normal within a day, within a week, within a month, but the person was not like that. Then it's prompts you to what? Formulate some research programs on what is it, what should we do? Then from that, you'll be able to start. Then from there, after you've formed your research, you have to do extensive literature survey. And how do you do that? You do what we call the medical database and using what reference managers. So it means that you cannot. So I think this week again, I saw a comment that said he graduated university and never used a computer. It's really funny. Yes, because some of these medical database and reference managers, you have to get a piece. What are they? What is even a medical database? They are the platform that keep what all published articles. So a typical example is the Google Scholar that we'll be using. It's called a medical database. It means that it stores all published articles from different publishing companies. As I said, when you join our subsequent webinars, you get to introduce to a lot of new terms, then you will to build your research journey. We have what we call a medical database, which is different from a publishing company, which is also different from a journal. So a publishing company can have a lot of what? Journals, and journals, they are responsible when they publish or when article is accepted, it's being published in that publishing company. For example, under Wiley, under Elsevier, under BMC, under Nature, under PLOS ONE. Those are the publishing company. And if an article is published, you find them in what? Medical database. So you don't go to normal Google. So normal Google that you search in, then you type an article. No, you zoom into either Google Scholar or PubMed. That's what we normally use in the health field. EcoHost, Embase, Cochrane. Mostly we use this for clinical trials and systematic analysis. But when they get articles from a medical database, we need to manage them by using what we call reference manager. Typical examples: EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, or Pepe. There's a lot of them. These are the most common ones I use. So sometimes some people will come and say they've done a manual reference. No, this time it's a taboo to do that. So if you are doing a work that you are retrieving articles, you need to manage them using what? EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, and what? These are called the reference managers. Again, in any of our subsequent webinars, we can do presentation on how to use these reference managers, any of them, depending on our audience choice. So we are always open, and we are going to serve your interest to really develop your research. Then you have to also develop a hypothesis. Most often we have two hypotheses called the null hypothesis. So you've used the database, you've set articles, you've gotten to know what is known, what is unknown. Then you need to define your hypothesis. And most often we have the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? Mostly the null hypothesis tell you that in nature there's no association, there's nothing that is existing. So for example, high body temperature is not associated with COVID infection. It's a null hypothesis. And the opposite is called the alternate hypothesis. So as for example, high body temperature is associated